Hey, you're here for live, Susan Says, episode number 37, You're Too Expensive. Who has ever heard of that? Have you? Have you? I know I have. So we're going to dive in deep and talk about how the pros close $100,000 deals and more over the phone. Like that. Why it's not about the price and how you can still be in full integrity with what it is that you want to do and how you want to sell without being sleazy or pushy or aggressive or gross. So if you're brand new to me, hi Kylie, thanks for joining me. My name is Susan McVeigh. I'm a business sales strategist and I help business owners and entrepreneurs just like you sell with more ease without the sleaze so that you can make more money, have more impact while living your life of freedom and flexibility. So Kylie says, I have too. And so I wanted to share this story. So, because I think it might be helpful. And so I want you to add your questions, your comments below. Here's the deal. Every Monday I come in here and do Live Susan Says. The goal is to be between 10 and 20 minutes max. So short and sweet, actionable items that you can take and go out there and actually implement. And if you have more questions, more information, need to go a little bit deeper, then I spend that time over in my free Facebook community called Successful Sales Strategies every Wednesday. Unless I'm traveling, speaking, teaching, then I won't be doing on Wednesday. But Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, you can join me over there and I will answer all of your questions and give you a little bit more of the behind the scenes, more insights into the strategies and be able to go a little bit deeper than here on this page. So we are talking all about pricing objections, really, right? You're too expensive. When we hear, oh, I'm looking at another competitor or I am considering somebody else for the thing that I need. So the gentleman, so the event that I went into, and I'm going to share in my membership community, Sales Mastery Society, a little bit more detail, like my key takeaways. And I'll probably share a little bit more just in terms of integrity and how you can still sell in integrity on Wednesday in my group, because I think it's really important that people understand and that you understand that you don't have to do the weird stuff that sometimes we feel we have to do in order to still make a lot of money. So as God would have it, I was sitting next to a fellow who just happened to be a sales guy. So if you've been around me for any period of time, you know most of the time I sleep on the plane. I am not super productive. And the last 20 minutes of conversation that I had out of this flight was just so life-giving. And it inspired this conversation today because I think it's really important that we understand that when you know how to do something and you have that certainty in yourself, not only in who you help, but why you help them, it gives you a confidence like no other, above and beyond the actual skills that you need to learn. But once you know the skills, it doesn't even matter what it is that you're selling. So this is a man who started off in like high tech, IBM. He's been in the industry for 30 years selling, and he sells a very niche product, right? So here's what I want you to hear is the more niche you go, the better off you are because the better you serve your people. So the industry that he works in is digital, like imprinting service. I think I totally botched it, but you know when you look at a plane and it says like American or Alaska or whatever is the airline name and it's painted on the side? So his company produces the things that help you to print that, like paint that on there. So whether it's the Mylar forms or the thing to help you to do it. Super niche, right? Also very expensive. Now, his company is not the only one that does this. And to be honest, when he first joined the company, I think about 4 years ago, he said, I don't even care. I don't want to know about the product. I don't need to know because selling is selling is selling. It's really about the needs of the person. And when you understand why people buy and specifically why they buy your thing, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter what the price is. Because when people come to you because they have an interest in your services, they automatically are saying, I want to know more, right? So when we hear you're too expensive, it's really not about the price. It's about the fact that they're not sure if they should be spending the money on you or somebody else. That's it. Because ultimately, if they have the problem, they still need the solution, right? So I want you to think for yourself. When have you said this? Have you ever said this in your life about something that you want to buy, right? So as an example, the first time that I got, so I am an Apple gal, right? This is not an ad, but when I first switched from, gosh, I think it might have been like a Kyocera Nokia. Like, I'm aging myself, but back in those days, Apple was, well, and it's really quite expensive, right? In comparison to other similar products that are out there. At the time, I just needed a phone. I didn't need a mini computer. So I had to really justify why I was going to do this. So it was, I think, 3 times the cost of the phone that I had. Why did I buy this? What was so important that this phone was more valuable to me than anything else? It's because it allows me to stay connected to my family. My husband and I were doing all kinds of crazy in order to be able to figure out our calendars, to be able to coordinate his schedule, my schedule, our work schedules, our 2 kids, our personal life, our families. It was too much. And so we wanted everything to be able to sync through the cloud. That's why I've switched almost everything to Apple products because of the convenience. So it was worth it to me to pay the extra premium such that price is irrelevant, because the cost of my sanity, the cost of my convenience is more important. So here's what happened. So this guy was sharing this story, and he said, I was at an event and a guy talked to a client who was considering his company and the other competitor and had just outright said, you guys are too expensive. You guys are too expensive. I'm buying this thing. So it was on a Friday. Okay. So rep number 1 from this company had this conversation, and the guy, the potential client said, I'm considering you guys or another guy, but to be honest, you're too expensive. So I've decided to buy from the other company. I'm buying the product on Monday. It's Friday. I'm buying it on Monday. So what would you have said? Would you have said like, okay, no problem. Thank you, but no thank you, and left it? I'm curious. So if you would have said, okay, that's fine, and let it go, I want you to write down 1 in the comments. If you would have said something different, I want you to write down 2 in the comments, because I'm just curious what your natural reaction would have been. Because I know a lot of times we feel like, oh, it's too late, right? It's too late. It's Friday. He's going to buy it on Monday. I don't have enough time. How am I going to save this deal? How am I going to help this person? So Kylie says 1. I know that's, most of the natural instinct is it's too late. I can't do this. So here's what ended up happening. So rep number 1 calls my new friend who's sitting next to me, Steve. And okay, so first he says to the customer, he says, look, would it be all right if I got one of my sales guys to give you a call and just see what we could do for you? Like, we just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have a conversation. Are you open to that? So he said yes, because remember, he said to the guy, it's between you and this other company, but you're too expensive. So he's already interested. So when rep number 1 said, is it all right? And asked for permission, he then got that customer say, yeah, but you have to do it fast because I'm buying this thing on Monday. So I need to talk to somebody like within the next couple of days, right? Because it's Friday. So all day Friday, maybe on Saturday, I'm willing to talk to somebody. If you can make the time for me, I'm going to make the time for you because I want to know what you guys have to offer. So the rep calls Steve and says, Steve, you need to call this guy. Of course, crazy doorbell would ring in the middle of my live. Hi, Kendra. Kendra, I'm so excited to see you. So here's what happened. Steve calls him. Now remember, this is an expensive product. It goes for over $100,000. I think the proposal might have been for $160,000. Like the actual solution that this guy needs to buy, it was way more than the competitive product. The guy already admitted that. And Steve didn't try and run from it. What he said was, well, if we were the same price, which one would you go for? And the guy on the phone, the customer said, well, I go with you guys. Well, why is that? And he listed off all of these things because of reputation, reliability, blah, 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 blah. well, isn't that worth the extra cost? The extra investment that you're going to make? Isn't it worth it? All of those things that you just shared with me? Y'all. So here's what I want you to take away, okay? So add your questions, add your comments below, and then we'll deal with them on Wednesday. I will answer them and give you a little bit more insight, because there's actually a couple more scenarios that showed up this weekend that I want to dig into a little bit more around pricing and why it's really important that you position yourself properly and that you understand why price objections come up, because it's not about you. It's about them. And this is not a situation where I'm saying to you, you're going to like ram your offer down people's throat, or on the flip side, because I know some people have been taught this, where you're actually challenging people and saying, well, that's not a real objection. Like price can't be the real issue. And essentially calling your clients a liar. Don't do that, right? Because price feels real for them. The objection feels real for them. So you'll see in this situation that Steve did none of that. He basically removed it and said, well, what if? What if it was possible? Could you make it work? And really, all things being equal, he dug into a little bit more, right? Like the whole piece around, what else did he say? So he said, well, because one of the things was higher production. They could do things faster because it's more reliable. It's actually got better mechanics to it. It's just a better product, right? And so it would move faster. It would move the throughput out faster. So when he asked, well, wouldn't that essentially mean that you could produce more, you could turn over more product? Like, because remember, his thing helps people do the thing that they need to do, which is probably what you're doing as well. So wouldn't it help you to get there faster? Wouldn't it help you to turn over more results or put out more of the thing that you're trying to do? And when the business owner considered, well, yeah, of course it would. Well, doesn't that automatically mean that you're going to be more profitable because you can produce more items? You can sell more of the thing that you want to sell? And he said, well, yeah, of course. So isn't that a no-brainer then? Because essentially you're looking at a very small investment, but the gains that you get just keep going and going and going. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, well, I don't help people make money. Like the thing that I do is not impacting their profit. It's not impacting their revenue. Everything can come back to time, money, or effort. They're universal principles. This is why I teach the way that I teach, because you do not have to know all of your product, but sales is sales is sales, because people buy for the same reasons, and it's because they want to know that what they're buying does what they need. And if you don't understand their needs, then you can't sell them anything. So the first thing that Steve did was to make sure that he understood what they needed. And that's why he was in full integrity to say, we have the better product. Well, actually, the customer knew that Steve had the better product. They just were scared to take the leap and pull the trigger to spend more when they thought they could get by with a lower priced product, a lower priced solution. So how often are you letting your customers off the hook to get a lower priced, less valuable solution, simply because you're too scared to ask the next question, right? And so it's not about the price. It's about the value, and it's the perception of the value. But really, your customers know what they value. Your customers, if they're not telling you, it's because you're not asking the right question. So as soon as you're able to ask them and move the dialogue forward and not be afraid to say it's too late, like, oh my gosh, I can't have more of a conversation because this is Friday. So here's how this ended, because I don't want to leave an open loop. Remember, Friday, rep number 1 talks to customer. Steve's talked to him, I think maybe late on Friday, or it could have even been on Saturday. So late on Friday, he talks to the customer and says, if I can get something over to you on your desk by Monday morning, will you buy this from me? And the customer's, yes, I will. If you can make this work, if you can give me the details and order form so that I can buy your product. So he got the commitment before he did anything further and closed the deal. And too many of you are not allowing your customers to say yes to you because you're too afraid to ask that last question. So rep number 1 already closed his portion of the deal by saying, can we still have a conversation? And he punted that over to his partner to close the deal. Who's the closer? Who's the salesperson? You're the salesperson in your business if you're doing your sales. And so you have to be able to do both parts. You have to know when you can open up the opportunity and say, it's not too late. It's never too late, right? At least engage in a conversation and ask for the opportunity. And then once you have it, you have to be willing to go beyond the objection and say, where is this really coming from? Do you really want my product, or do you really want this other person's product? I have had many people come to me and say that they're looking at other coaches and consultants or whatever. And when I ask them, well, why are you considering those other folks? And they list off the reasons. If they don't match me, I wish them well. And I say, okay, that's great. I don't think we're a match, but I'm hopeful that one of these other people will be a better fit for you. Okay? So I release them. If they're not ready to make the commitment because the reasons why they want to work with me don't match what I actually do for them and they don't fit my value proposition, then I immediately know that I can't service them in the way that they want, and there's not going to be congruency with the value that I can provide. So I sell in full integrity and knowing that I release those folks and I wish them the best with the people that they are considering because it might be a better fit for them. And you have to be able to have confidence in your ability to close, even when it means that you close them and say no. Does that make sense? I hope this makes sense. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share today. I appreciate you being on here. I know that a bunch of you have been sharing your questions, comments. I'm going to review, take a look. If you're on here later and you're watching the replay, please feel free to go ahead. I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper on Wednesday over in my free group, Successful Sales Strategies, and I'm going to answer all of your questions in more detail. I just want more time to kind of prep and see how I can structure it, but also to share a couple more examples that outline this in a little bit more detail, because so this is a great news story on how to sell well from a pro like Steve, who's been doing it in multiple industries and actually doesn't have a ton of product knowledge on his thing. So if you feel like you need to, if you feel like you're throwing the encyclopedia of facts at your people, stop doing that, because that's not what you need in order to sell. And so I want to share another story about how not to sell, because it's something that people shared with me their own experience. And as a sales professional, I was appalled because it leaves people with a bad taste, and it ruins the reputation of how sales professionals, because if you're trying to sell in your business, you are trying to be a sales pro, and that's the reputation that we're all fighting against. And so that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to sell in full integrity and do it with ease without being sleazy, and that you don't have to kill yourself in order to make lots of money, even if you're selling really well, because there's a way to be able to do this in order to continue to grow and scale at different levels of your business. So thank you for joining me. Add your questions below, and then we will pop back in. Come on over to the community over at Successful Sales Strategies. Let me know that you saw this so that I can expedite your fast pass into coming into the group. And we will see you on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Otherwise, I'm always here on this page on Mondays. I haven't found a consistent time, so I'm working on that. That's my commitment over the next week, is to figure out if I have a consistent time when I'm not traveling to be on here so that I can program that in for you. So thank you so much, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.